Hello, this is Wave of Action UK with Matteo from Shout Out UK, having a weekly chat as usual. And we're going to be discussing the beheading. I'll wait for P to come back on and she'll start it.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the beheading and this video that apparently if we watch we're terrorists because it shows a beheading, which apparently doesn't really show anyway. And also various sources online and in mainstream media now are saying that forensics reckon that that is a fake. So are we still terrorists for watching a fake execution? And if we are, is it because it's so bad that we'd question what we was being told?
Yes, I think the reason why we're not allowed to watch that video is because as soon as we watch that video, we'll realise how crap it is and how much of a fake it actually is, and the lie that's been told as usual by the exact same people that have always told the lie again. So the best way to stop us is to not allow us.
I mean, the one thing I definitely got to say about this is that there are, let's be realistic about this, there are hundreds of videos of beheadings and various other atrocities going on around the internet. You know, Facebook was recently accused of allowing those videos to be shown on their network without any issues. So, I mean, a lot of them are done in the Middle East, some of them are done in Africa, other parts of the world, and so forth. So first of all, I mean, why are we deemed terrorists for watching this particular video? Why is this particular video hold so much importance? And secondly, shouldn't we be also talking about all the other videos that are online? Shouldn't there be an action if you wanted to do something about beheading in videos and so forth, doing it around all of them? And shouldn't we be questioning also Facebook as well, considering that they show beheading videos? So clearly this video is of massive importance.
Possibly the person who created the video was probably sacked and beheaded himself for the failed attempt of what they've done, from the sounds of it.
And when we were talking about it earlier, you made an interesting point about ISIS, you know, having killed so many people already. Why would they need to stage a video when there is so many beheading videos already out there? You know, if they're extreme terrorists, you would expect them to take extreme action.
Yeah. I mean, that is one thing that it does raise so many questions for me. Is that if you're an organisation that, you know, has reportedly killed many people, you know, the Evening Standard today said that they've crucified people, they've beheaded people, they've shot people in deserts. You know, they've done many vile things, and I think we can all agree on that. So why would you, as an organisation, then supposedly pretend to behead somebody? If you didn't have an American journalist, surely they would kill somebody, you know,
anyone.
Somebody didn't agree with them, and then pretend for them to be a US journalist. That's what they wanted to do. But faking a death just doesn't make sense for an organization that supposedly doesn't care what the West think and is trying to portray it up as brutal image possible for their organization. It just does not make sense at all for them to fake a video, in my opinion.
Yeah, same. I agree on that. I think also the way that they use the word terrorist, that seems to be the biggest scapegoat actually created now. All it's ever done now is stop people from coming out and telling the truth. As soon as you say anything against the government or against what they do, like this video, obviously it must have been some shoddy work. Otherwise, we wouldn't be terrorists for watching it.
I mean, the interesting thing about it is today, Nick Clegg, for example, Deputy Prime Minister, has come out saying that, you know, this is horrible what's happened, especially to this journalist, you know, using this poor man's death, if he did die and when he died, to justify more sanctions on our human rights, one of which is to remove our right to have a British passport, just because we've either travelled to a country or because for whatever reason they see fit. I think it's a very dangerous power if the government get it, and Nick Clegg was quoted saying that the first thing he's going to do when he comes back from holiday is to campaign for this. Well, I mean, frankly,
And
the first thing I'm going to do as soon as on election day is not vote for him.
Well, and then if you look at what Boris wants as well, like he doesn't want innocent till proven guilty. He wants presumed guilt on everybody that visits any of these countries. And you have medics, aid workers, reporters, all kinds of people that are going out there to help or work. And so if they're going to be guilty until proven innocent, and you've got those new secret courts where no one can hear, you can't even hear the evidence against you to defend yourself, and you've got the possibility of losing your passport. Now, my mum happened to be born in America, and not so long ago she got deported from this country, having had children and worked here all her life, just on the fact that she was born somewhere else. It took a lot to get her back. And for someone to go and live in another country where they know no one is very, very scary. And I think it was you last week that said about the people that were just flying backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
Because they're stateless. And you can't. There are human rights laws that say you can't make people stateless. That's a dictatorship, really, isn't it? And how long before that's taken on to domestic terrorists, and how long before it's anybody who disagrees with the agenda?
As soon as you give a government power, it is going to be abused. And the fact is that, I mean, even if we presume that the video is real, what happened, what did really happen, and let's go with what the government says, that 70% of people flying to the Middle East now are presumed to be terrorists, are going to go there to learn to be jihadists and coming back here and causing and waging war on the West. If we presume all of that to be true, if we're going to give up everything that we believe in to fight an enemy, what's the point of fighting if we're just going to become what we presume they are? By losing the right to have a passport without being threatened to have it removed if we don't stand up and fight for whatever the hell this country is becoming, or if we don't say what they want us to say.
If you're born in this country, this is your country. This country belongs to no particular individual. Do you know what I mean?
It's the land.
You can't just say that you can't live here anymore because you don't toe the line. Because if I'm doing criminal activities, I presume you'll put me in prison, and I won't be free to roam the land.
Yeah, the point is you'll be in prison in this country. I mean, whether you do something right or wrong, you're in this country. Again, prisoner, I don't know, drug dealers, rapists, criminal organizers, they are all...
So they are physically trying to turn us into pirates.
Yeah, stateless. I mean, pirates is a good, it's a good example of pirates, because what I found really, really interesting, what I discovered quite recently about pirates, is that a lot of them
were activists.
I mean, in a funny reason, yes, because back in the day, as you know, slavery was rife. I mean, it's more rife now, but it was legal and rife back then in the Caribbean. And pirates didn't see colour. In a sense, you'd have white people fighting with black people on the same sort of level. There will be democracy on ships, where they would elect a captain of said ship. And I found that fascinating, that we see pirates as these vicious, brutal, not even excuses for human beings, and yet in reality, they were democratically elected. They didn't believe in racism, and they were fighting, in one way, in essence, to survive in a system that they didn't see was right.
Yeah, and then they had islands and things, and they had their own systems, but ultimately they were fighting against the system.
They were stateless.
Yeah, they were fighting against the systems that were being forced upon them. They didn't want to have to do the things that those people, like work land and earn your living and things. They wanted to be free men.
Yeah.
And they went up and set their own societies up.
And what is dangerous, I mean, what I see here is, again, a repeat of history. Because replace the word terrorist with the word pirate, and the exact same thing is happening. Back then, when you had privateers who fought for something that they believed in, suddenly, if you robbed somebody in a shop, for example, back then, you get harsh judgment. If you were accused of piracy, whatever the hell that meant, you would be hanged immediately. There'll be no other option.
You know what it is? It's literally anybody that right now, in the eyes of the government, we are terrorists, we are pirates, because we hate everything they do and they hate everything we do. This has never been a war against the people, or a black or a white or a poor or a rich or any. It's never been that. It's always been us against them collecting, using the propaganda to get people, we're going to look after you, we'll govern you, which back then governors used to have their big mansions and their, you know, things like that. It was exactly the same. And I reckon, yeah, David Cameron would hang us if he had the chance.
Of course he would.
He was asked, let's hang these activists. It's like, yeah, all right then, yeah, they're really pissing me off.
We say that, but ultimately, if the government says they are knocking down my house where I live, the whole area, we might get a protest together, but ultimately we're basically begging them not to. And they might turn around and say, no, fuck you, we're going to do it anyway, like they often do. And it'll be the same with fracking and everything.
At what point are we going to turn around to them and say, fuck you, no, you're not having your way? The only way that riots will happen is if people riot against each other. There's not going to be a riot if it's against the politicians. And do you know what I mean? No, they've got to stop like piling us against each other. We've got to think collectively and think, right, no, we don't want to take each other down, because that's the only thing that's saving their bacon.
Yeah.
Soon as we realise.
Ultimately, if the government turned around and said, we're going to call 50% in this country, apart from standing up and uprising, you know, if they want to do it, they will do it. My point is that ultimately they do what they want. They're not accountable to us. They don't listen to us. They don't, you know, we can ask them not to do something, but most of the time they just say, no, and do it anyway. I mean, we've had loads, it's like developments and things that people have campaigned against for a long time. You've had like Cat Hill protest evicted today. That's a nature reserve in London, where you've got very few nature reserves, you know, and the residents have lived there, or they've grown up with it there, they've taken their children there, and they just want to keep that like that. That's not going to happen. It doesn't matter if 10,000 people there want that to stay as it is. If one person is going to profit from it, it's going to happen.
That's what happened with the Badgers, weren't it?
Yeah, I mean, the point is that, in my opinion, I mean, the system has stayed exactly the same. It's just the method has changed. So, whereas before, during the times of piracy and so forth, people weren't coveting money. They were coveting their lives in a way. There were different things that were in play in that society, where you had to kill the person to stop them doing what they were doing. Nowadays, all you've got to do is pull out a purse or a wallet, and then straight away we'll stop doing whatever we're doing that is making them upset. You know, because money is the controlling aspect of basically 95% of society. You can say 99% of society. If you suddenly hack their bank account or deal with their homes or something, they will straight away kill like there's no tomorrow, because in this world there is nothing else that counts but money nowadays, in this society rather, I should say. So it's the same thing, you know, as long as something profits from it, that's going to happen. You know, it's like Lego's deal with Shell. You know, Lego couldn't care less how many people signed those signatures, because they're making a lot of money from Shell's deal. Despite the fact that it's now going to indoctrinate kids into thinking Shell's somehow an okay company.
I did write them a letter because my son's visually impaired, and when he had his patch on, he was almost blind. But to exercise his bad eye, he always had Lego. So Lego is really, he's obsessed with it, to be honest. And now he wanted to go to Legoland for his birthday, and I've had to say to him, well, no, you can't. Because I'm a hard-nosed cow. Because I won't spend my money where I don't agree. And I've wrote on their walls, and I've emailed them and everything. And it's, you know, they don't think of that human side to it. You know, they just think about their money.
But they're
they don't have
to.
I know.
I mean, that's the thing where I think that's a problem.
I just picked up because it's my son.
No, I can understand. I mean, when I was a kid, I loved Lego. I absolutely loved Lego as well, and I was heartbroken to hear that they dealt with Shell. Because I really, really liked them as a company. I liked their product. It was a brilliant product. You know, it is a great product.
Yeah.
But one thing I think that activists realize in general, I think, and I think us all included, is that companies don't have a moral compass. They don't have a human aspect. All they care about is where their money comes from. And because of such a one-track mind, everybody can use that to their advantage. You know, governments could manipulate companies into paying tax if it's money.
I mean, having had people comment on the wall and that, it brings me to like companies and their Facebook and their friendly, interactive, you know, oh, look at us, we're a lovely company, share nice funny pictures, have competition, maybe you win something. There have been companies now that have put it in their terms and conditions in using their Facebook, in liking the Facebook page or commenting on the Facebook page, you are forfeiting all rights to sue the company.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously, yes.
Yeah, I've read that, yeah.
That is incredibly smart.
Yeah. So if you want to complain or you want to sue the company, you can't because you've liked their page on Facebook.
Yeah, which people don't know about, but that is a real thing.
That is incredibly smart.
Mm.
You see, these people are incredibly smart. I mean, they are incredibly, you know, they don't...
They're tricky little tricksters. They're fraudsters.
All the pirates.
But I mean, all it
Don't
is
worry,
is,
we're pirates. We'll sort it. Arr.
I mean, all it is a strategy. It's a strategy game.
I'm actually
It's a
half
real life
there.
strategy game.
I'm gonna get
They're
my parrot
retards.
hat on. I'm a parrot.
Huh?
I brought Aunt Bassie's Yorkshire puddings once, and not Yorkshire puddings, dumplings, and I was eating it, and I could feel something go right down my throat, and I pulled it back out, and it was a great big thing of hair with dumpling on it.
Oh!
So I rang them up, and I said, you know, I've never been, because I could feel it all pulling. It was horrible pulling it back out.
Oh, that is vile.
And I rang them up. Do you know what they did? They sent me more. I was like, you having a fucking laugh? I'm never touching your products again. I couldn't eat one again.
Nah, I wouldn't.
They're idiots.
That's
I mean,
No
people do it all the
refund.
time. It's like if you ever complain to Coke, they'll just send you loads and loads of free Coke souvenirs, free Coke T-shirts, free Coke shoes, free Coke bags. Of course, to anybody, it's like, oh well, I got free stuff. Well, no, not really. They've just
up there advertising.
You're advertising for them for free. Not only do they give you a terrible product, destroying your teeth and your health, but they're also using you as an advertising billboard.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your victory.
That's when I go into shops and they've got them bags and it's got like their name on it and they want to charge you £1 for it because it's a bit longer. Should be giving me that to walk around town advertising your shop for free.
Yeah.
You know?
It's McDonald's balloons. They stick the balloons, and you see these kids walking around. And my kids are always like, "I want a balloon." It's like, we can't go in there, darling. It's Zionist and it's unfit for human consumption. You can't have a balloon, and you feel like an arse. But that's what they do. They're like,
well, McDonald's in America have announced that they're going to use factory-grown chicken nuggets.
haven't they already used human meat? Accordingly.
I thought there was sawdust in their food. I mean, it tastes like it, but...
I think there's all sorts. I think they're just going in at
I
night.
know there's silicon and there's plastic kind of stuff.
Silicon? You mean they
they used to be
the nuggets, yeah.
There used to be a yoga mat in the breads and in Subway.
Yeah.
The same chemical as yoga mat.
Yeah.
That's why this shit don't go off when you put it on the side for 6 weeks.
Yoga mats.
Yeah.
Maybe it's them preparing us for climate change, so that when the sun hits us, we won't melt so quick because we've been made of so many fucking metals and plastic. Prepared for it.
I was going to ask,
really.
sew them together, you can make a yoga mat out of it.
Yeah. Oh, look, a new share.
Subway have announced that they're going to stop using it. I mean, but let's go on to this, right? I'm going to tell you some things that companies are using and see what you think. There are a lot of patents, right, for Pepsi, Kraft and Nestle to use human kidneys
Right.
and fetuses as flavour enhancers. In fact, they've got shares in a company that is enhancing in their into flavours, a flavour enhancing company. Now they're saying that it won't end up with human liver in it. They'll do something to it and get something off. Now I'm not into cannibalism in any way, shape or form. Not even a hint. Not even a little chemical element.
I'll admit she's never.
I don't give a shit.
Never.
I don't give a shit how a little bit nicer it tastes. I'd rather you didn't put it in.
That is madness. I mean, the fact that stuff, I mean, let alone that it happens, that it's legal, and that you see kids drink that stuff. I mean, that's the shocking part of it, is that...
It's like women's face creams that use body parts, that use, like, aborted fetuses.
Olay.
Or collagen that's taken from, like, executed women in China. I seriously think that if something has human body parts in it, it should be on the label. It should be labelled.
Like a cigarette packet.
Well, I mean...
This product contains human body parts.
Here's a scary thought. If history is anything to go by, right, everyone remembers the foot and mouth disease that started off because they started feeding cow parts to cows.
Yeah.
And that's how it started, and they started going mad and so forth, and they started getting really, really ill because of it.
That was the BSE, wasn't it?
What?
BSE.
I think so.
Mad cow disease.
Yeah.
BSE.
When they banned tea steak.
I mean, what I was going to say is that if you look at human mental illness, right, they claim that there are more mentally ill people now than there have ever been. You know, and the idea of mental illness is growing. Now, some of that is because they consider anybody that thinks differently a nutter. That's one thing that's inflating it. But the other thing is there a... Because obviously, I mean, it didn't always used to contain human stuff in it, because we didn't have the technology to do that. So is there a link between the fact that we are being forced to become cannibals and the fact that we are slowly going insane?
Probably.
And
I
think why it's extremely important to grow what you can.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, because even there's some like wheats and things, GMO wheats, and that's got human genes in.
But I think we're at the
think
point
it's
where
been banned here.
The soil properly yet. It would all have to be fresh soil in pots and stuff to get it back until you can get the land back to what it should be. Because right now the land's addicted to ammonia and chemicals and fertilizer. It's useless for meters down.
I mean, where do you stop? Because obviously, I mean, the seeds that you buy to grow your own stuff, for example, a lot of them are genetically enhanced or genetically modified.
You go to places like you've got Riots Gardens and you've got others throughout the country. These are organic heirloom seeds. You have to get heirloom seeds. They're grown very particularly, and you only get seeds off those plants that are traceable back. So.
And then what do you do with the soil? Because again, I mean, the soil gets rained on, and the rain is now toxic and acidic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess the best thing you can do is, I don't know,
hydroponics.
I mean, soil's like, hydroponics, aquadome, the biodomes, where they grow like millions of pounds worth of food in a very small place, and you can dig a big hole in your garden, build an underground greenhouse with a nice roof that's going to let the light in all winter. Have a lot of glass inside so that keeps the heat, and then just grow in water, but have the water recycling round and fish in the water to keep the water.
You fertilize it.
To clean the water. They do it like that. I mean, it's expensive to get started though.
I mean,
you come in with us, Matteo.
My friend does it in Switzerland, and he grows throughout the year in a biodome. And considering the snow in that's quite. And there's very little soil.
And there's systems with material, rock minerals and stuff like that you can do to make all water your own sort of reservoir as well.
I mean, it's getting to the point where, and I mean, that's the problem again, is that we can't do this all individually. And this is where the idea of the collective comes back in, you know. We can't all afford a biodome. We can't all live in a biodome.
No, it's a community. Have to be a community thing, a collective.
Yeah, and I guess what you have to do is, if you can find enough of you, is club together, crab and get a bit of land and do it that way.
We're on it like carbonics.
I mean, no, because it is a thought, you know, if that is what linked, obviously with foot and mouth disease it was more urgent because it's literally basically fed brains to cows of other cows, which is, you just say it back to yourself and it just sounds
Are
nuts.
we eating ourselves?
Yeah, and if you say, for example, that Pepsi had put human body, I'm not saying that they had used this flavour enhancer, would they have to put not suitable for vegetarians on it? Or would they class eating
Yourself?
human?
No, it would be meat, wouldn't it? Surely.
No, so, you know, the vegetarian don't want to eat meat. And I'm not saying that there would be meat in it, that the thought of that would be totally no to a vegan or vegetarian, you know what I mean? Well,
Yeah.
totally no to anybody who knew about it, I think.
I don't know many vegans anyway that drink any kind of Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, most vegans that I know don't touch fizzy drinks.
I pretty much live off water and badly.
My kids think that fizzy water, lemonade.
I know. I always think about it. I'm like, oh my god, look at my water. Because to replace filters and stuff like that, and to get proper filters, but I think we should all demand that reverse osmosis shit on our filters, because my water company swears down the fluoride in the water is natural. We're never going to win this battle between me and Anglian Water. This is never going to be won, and they will not get a penny until they remove that fluoride. There is no natural fluoride in there. Get the fluoride out of my water. And then, because we have to bath in that and shower, it soaks into your skin. Don't matter whether you drink it or not.
Yeah. I mean, the fact is, the
water as well.
Yeah, but they've got a new thing for that now, where they go around the schools and they paste a really high concentrate of fluoride onto the teeth. But they can't swallow it because it's highly poisonous.
Yeah, but look at fillings. It's mercury. They have to wear masks and be like contained in that to take a filling out because it's so dangerous.
Mercury. It's not anymore.
When did that change though?
It changed. It was mercury in my parents' generation, so it must have changed in the last like 20 odd years.
What the hell is it?
Nowadays, Lord knows. I mean, I was actually funnily enough having a conversation with this recent one of my parents, because they had one of their fillings in, and they had that filling in for, I don't know, I think like 40 or 50 years in, and about 40, 30 or 40 years, and they went back to have one of the other fillings, and they obviously paid an arm and a leg for it, as you do with dentistry in this country.
Mm.
And they went in for the dent, and it's supposed to last 5 or 6 years, and he turned around right and he said, well, isn't that a bit of a cheat that you charge me 4 times the amount of a filling beforehand, and now it lasts 6 years, whereas the other one I had was on the NHS back in the day, and it's lasted for 30 plus years. It just doesn't make sense, and it's all about the recycle of money, because they want you to come more times to the dentist, because the more times you come, the more times you pay.
You can get that filling stuff in the actual shops now, but they don't like to tell you that you can actually regrow your teeth.
Yeah, that you can. It's quite slow that they do tooth filling, and it must be true, because they've just brought out where they reckon within 3 years it will be the end of the drilling at the dentist. You won't need drilling, because they've got this technology with, like, I don't know, magnetic fields or something. It speeds up the regeneration of your teeth, so it regenerates it will fill the hole in. So what your teeth does naturally, which is actually something that conspiracy theorists have said for a long time, that your teeth heal, and they've said no, and dentists will have you like no. But now they've got the technology. They're saying it enhances your natural teeth's repairing. So which is it? Was we lying or was we telling the truth?
Because of the money that fillings generate.
They will bring it out. They will bring it out, because it will be phenomenal in cost. Or you will have to have some kind of insurance so you can have it.
Yeah, no, I mean, there will
be money. Pardon?
They will think of a way of monetizing it. That's not going to be the problem.
Yeah, I mean, poor people won't get it.
No, God, no, of course not.
I mean, poor people can't even get white fillings, let's face it.
I
You
know
know,
I'm going to be toothless by 60. I will.
I mean, they go on about people having benefits and not getting jobs and things like that. And you only have to see like some of the memes, the Jeremy Kyle show and the fucking state of the teeth on that. That
Yeah.
with poverty goes bad dental care, and when you get like that, you can get quite low self-esteem, and you can not want to go and work and serve people, shoving them your teeth all day. That it might be cosmetic, but I think that your smile and how you feel about your teeth probably impacts hugely on how you get on in life and feel about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, teeth, skin, all that kind of stuff, you know, we rely a lot on cosmetics. And, I mean, let's be honest, it's not just a benefit, it's not just a self-esteem. Because if you go into a shop, or any shop, and try to apply for a job without 3 teeth left in your face, you're probably
It
not
isn't going to
get the
happen.
job.
And how could
your teeth, but you're probably not going to get the job.
No, you wouldn't. And how can we, right, say anything of us as a society that we'd allow people to go around like that when they'd all rather have like implants and nice things, but it's not profitable for them to do it. And even if they worked bloody hard, they still wouldn't be able to afford it because they're slave wages. You know, there's no way out for people like that. And we have the technology to make life better, for not just teeth, but across the board, you know, many things that we allow other people to
I would
suffer.
say if that works for teeth, that would equally work for bones and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing, teeth are bones, so it would work the same.
Tissue as well, I would say there's a lot of things that are capable right now that we won't see the benefit of.
Well, stem cell research, for example, it's been proven that stem cells can regrow parts of your body. You know, there is already the science behind it. It's just that, again, they're not rolling it out because they haven't thought of the best way of monetizing on it yet. The problem is that society works. I mean, these advances in humanity.
They need us to be poorly as well. They can't keep coming up with these cures, otherwise they wouldn't spend so much time not allowing cannabis oil and stuff like that.
I mean, the problem is that if you look historically, people haven't been this ill before. If you look at, for example, during the times of Rome or any other time, you know, people used to bathe in water. People used to have herbal remedies. Yes, their teeth weren't Simon Cowell white. They were yellow, but that's not the point. They were healthy.
Yeah.
You know, people weren't this ill. You know, just because you didn't brush your teeth. You know, people used to go throughout their lives without brushing their teeth. They didn't used to end up with only 2 or 3 teeth. Now, if you eat the diet that some of these people are forced to eat because they can't afford anything but £1 sausages, then their teeth start to fall out like crazy. But well, that's because the poor.
Well, you think as well, you've got kids that are running around in the summer and coming in every 5 minutes for a glass of squash, watered down with tap water with fluoride in it, and fluoride clearly is a toxin, and it doesn't add enamel. It actually strips it. It just puts a white layer on it, doesn't it? But it destroys it in the process.
I mean, that's the point. Is that it's all about appearance and money. The fact is that white is better, despite the fact that if you have yellow teeth, you might have healthier teeth, but because you have yellow teeth, it's not considered nice. It's like. What was it? It's if you look at, for example, the way poor people used to live, even in medieval times or the Dark Ages when we used to consider it, people used to, I mean, the diets that they ate back then would be probably millionaires' diets now, in the sense that they used to eat real meat, lamb, mutton, whatever you want to call it. They used to eat real vegetables grown from the earth. They used to have nettle soups and various other things. And bread that was baked there. You try and get all that stuff now, and you'll be bankrupt within 2 days because you won't be able to afford it. It'll be madness. Yeah. And the sausages we have now, for example, most of it is ground down bone.
Yeah. Have you seen the way
10 sausages you can get for £1/2.
They chuck pigs in. Have you seen the way they chuck pigs in?
Have you seen the meat glue? I mean, that is fucking. Oh, that meat glue.
And you have to wear a mask to put the glue into the meat because it's dangerous.
And it's banned, but obviously unscrupulous people still use it. You can basically get the cheap cut of any meat. It could be pork, lamb, steak,
Yeah.
You know, like the skag ends that you've got, they're in chunks.
The bin is
Can't do that.
supposed to be thrown away, yeah?
Yeah, you put this powder on it and you wrap it up like a big sausage and you put it away for a few hours and you get it out and all the meat expands and glues together and they chop it and it looks like prime fillet.
It's disgusting.
No.
And
But it's
they
actually
seriously do have
really
to wear
bad for you.
They do have to wear masks to apply it.
And this is stuff we eat. Let's bear this in mind.
Yeah.
We eat this stuff. We consume it. We give it to our children, our parents, whatever. Whatever, you know, you give it to people. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. And imagine what that does to our teeth in the first place.
Screw the teeth. Imagine what it does to your health in general.
I know.
At this point, that stuff gets absorbed into your bloodstream. It goes to your heart. It goes to your brain.
Mm.
Which is a lot of, I mean, that's a lot of what they reckon about the allergies, though, isn't it?
Yeah, because
They
this
reckon
last
because
year,
the GMOs.
I've really struggled. This last year has been the worst year. I've probably sneezed about 40 times in less than 5 minutes the other day, and I thought I never had hay fever, not once, never once had hay fever, and I'm rashing up at things on clothes and stuff like that. I've had the same clothes since I was like 19.
You know hay fever?
And it's the washing powders. It's the washing powders and stuff like
I
that.
can barely use any washing powder. But,
You know,
like with GMOs, I read that what happens is your stomach lining can thin and some of your food can get into your blood. And your body then thinks that it's under attack from a virus or something, so it sends out its like antibodies. And then if you eat that food again, you have an allergic reaction to it.
And then we've all had our appendixes removed, haven't we? Because they were
I haven't.
useless parts
I
of
haven't.
the body.
I haven't. I've never had appendicitis, so.
They took mine out, and then they realised it wasn't my appendix.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I was 7 months pregnant as well. They were like, emergency operation, and then they were like, oh, it wasn't the appendix. Oh, and it could have waited till after. Bastards. There goes my backup of antibacterial
Talking
immunities.
about appendix, did you hear about the Tory MP who had appendicitis last weekend?
No.
No, I haven't. But I have
got
a Tory MP that complained that 90,000 a year wasn't enough to live on. But do go on.
This one was, and I can't remember the hospital, Croydon, I think, or somewhere. It was a London hospital anyway.
Yeah.
And he ended up waiting like 24 hours, 12 hours before getting an X-ray, and he was put in a cupboard and all this, and it turns out it was because before they got elected, they were all saying to save this hospital, and then when they got elected, they fucking got rid of it. So this poor hospital now has an extra 40,000 people a month to deal with because of Tories. You know, so his little way me in the paper was a bit like, well, I'm glad you experienced it because it's your doing.
Mm.
You know, the staff, he did say that the staff were all trying their hardest and working hard. But now they want to close another 3 hospitals around that hospital. So if there was 40,000 increase on one, you're saying that that hospital could end up with another 120,000 patients a month. Now, how are these people going to be safe?
Mm.
With an emergency service that caters for that many people, without the original people it caters for.
I'm sure it'll get worse off as we're going to have to pay for the extra wages of that poor bastard on 90,000 a year.
I mean, what's happening clearly is that the system we have today can't cope. You know, we can't run a society strictly on profit anymore. It used to be able to because there were, you know, it did used to work, but now it doesn't anymore. And the trouble is that anything that changes, the trouble is that anything that we progress onto from this would mean that we're all on equal footing. Therefore, some people won't be above others. But they don't want that to happen, so therefore we're stagnating in a society that can't cope. Because economically, yes, what they're doing makes sense because you're shutting down more offices, therefore saving money, therefore making more money. But from a human aspect, it's just madness. It just doesn't work.
No.
No.
It's broken.
It's like that. I was reading about an estate in London that has a park, a children's park that serves quite a big area, and lots of kids go there. And the council are trying to develop it into a big skyrise. And they said, don't worry, we'll put the park underground, underneath the skyrise, so the kids have still got somewhere to go. And you're thinking, you know, you can shove these kids down in the dark. It's not going to be particularly safe if they're the only kid in the park. And where's the... I mean, who thinks these harebrained schemes? Why can't you see the importance of nature and things? It's not... The human aspect is very important. Because by nurturing these kids, they're going to grow up into better people. They're going to have better jobs, and the more time and effort and inspiration they have in their childhoods.
But maybe that's...
Sorry, go on.
No, what I was going to say is maybe you've hit the nail on the head. Because we are continuously in the assumption that these people want the poor to develop into something better.
Yeah.
I think we're in denial that, well, I mean, it's because they want us to do this, they're just not thinking straight. Maybe they are thinking straight. Maybe that's exactly what they do want.
Yeah, I think it is. I think they need us sick. They need us looking bad. They need us with...
There are too many people on the planet.
Huh?
Hmm?
They need the population to go down, and what a better way to do it than ourselves, you know? Look how many people have committed suicide just because of the lack of money. They are cutting exactly what they need to cut. They're doing exactly what they need to do to make people feel like shit about themselves, to make families stick round and round in that circle that eventually wipes each other out. That's how, you know, what are the floods going to bring next time with things like Ebola and stuff like that? And, you know, what are the floods going to start bringing when the pumps are shutting down and stuff when they run out of oil?
Mm. I mean, the other thing is, of course, is that, as you said, they're doing exactly, it's like, you know when they cut legal aid?
Yeah.
There's a reason why they cut that, is because the legal aid allows people to fight for their rights in court.
Yeah.
That's why you dispute things. If you as a company have 10 lawyers, I as a poor person can't afford a lawyer, but I can get legal aid, therefore I can defend myself. If you cut legal aid, I can't afford a lawyer, I can't defend myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same with the employment laws, you know, the right to tribunal, having to pay to go to tribunal.
Benefit
If
laws.
if you've lost your job, chances are you ain't got much money to your next pay packets, or you sort out a benefit claim. You can't really afford to be paying a couple of grand on a tribunal, let alone having representation at that tribunal, because there's no legal aid.
We're slowly being priced out of the transport as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that slowly, but yeah.
Yeah,
There's
not
another
slowly.
year yet. There's another year yet.
And then
I wouldn't say that. I mean, just going into central London on a regular basis knocks me out a few quid each week. I mean, it's ridiculous.
The cost it's going to cost me to get to GCHQ this weekend, altogether with the round trip, is nearly 100 quid.
What?
Yeah.
That is madness.
I know. We were trying to equal.
And then that's why
we're spending a lot of money to get to protests now.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about manoeuvres and strategy. You know, the strategy of the left, of the activist, is to get loads of people together in one place. The strategy.
I'm booking my ticket for the 5th of November now.
Yeah. imagine the price hikes up twice as much.
Yeah.
But the point is, again, it's like a reaction. You know, the activist gets all these people together to fight for one cause. The system stops you from getting together. And I think the natural, activists haven't into that back yet. And I think
we have that point you just made. I don't know if you heard some of the things that Theresa May has been saying about with this beheading that we started with.
Oh, God.
The laws the terrorist laws that are coming in. She's saying about groups that express extremist views can be stopped from communicating or face arrest. It will not be an arrest to be in a group, but if you continue to, like an ASBO, if you continue to have your discussions and talk, and that you would face arrest. So extremists could be
We
an
are.
anti-tracker, an animal
Yeah,
rights protester.
We are extremists in their view.
And my concern is, about them, like you were saying about keeping as part of their strategy. How long before that sort of law is applied to people inciting people to protest?
I think it'll be put in place once they've trashed Anonymous or some form of movement worldwide, and then I think it'll be put in place, because then they can
that's the future cry.
this is.
At the end of it, I think that's almost endgame. I think what we need to realize is, and this is something I've been saying for a long time on these chats, is that the organization, with the exception of Anonymous, in activists and so forth, and activism in general, has never been close to perfect. But I think at the moment, it's literally a fight for survival. It is nothing short but a fight for survival, to the point where we need to realize that, standing on each other's molehills, fighting each other's little battles mean nothing. As soon as you get wiped out, you're all screwed. Because you're fighting for your own very.
What they don't realise, they haven't done the divides good enough. They haven't divided us good enough. We should have been a lot further on in their plans than we are now. Gaza should have gone without a hitch. God, they're in the Middle East. We shouldn't have given a shit about them. Do you know what I mean?
But the fact that Nick Clegg could go on radio and say he's going to fight to have a law that police can remove your passport automatically means that, yes, Gaza was a little bit of a hitch up, but okay, whatever. They cared about loads of people that are living somewhere in the middle of a desert. That's the way they see them. It's like, okay, fine, they managed to rally a couple of people.
Well, hypothetically, weapons script.
Huh? Say that again.
You're cutting out. Hello?
P?
I think she's gone.
Yeah. She'll be back.
All I was saying is that, in my belief, is that Gaza and so forth was a short one fight, in the sense that, yes, people care about it, and to the establishment, in the long-term goal of things, how has that moved us any closer to fighting for our rights and getting a better society?
I believe it has. I believe that we've made connections now between activism and the Muslim community, the Asian community, the communities in the Middle East. I've made amazing connections since the Gaza issue, and Gaza, they were wearing Anon masks. Do you know what I mean? Anonymous is there. They were helping Ferguson. They got together and they stood up with Ferguson. Ferguson equally will help them. We're connecting in ways. We're now making dangerous connections. That Middle East should not have been in our paradigm as far as they're concerned. You should be sitting in a gala bingo, ticking off your little numbers and drinking your beer, and stick to your fracking protests. You should not be getting involved in this Middle East shit. We're not supposed to be there, and I think that's what's bothered them, is that we've made connections that can't be broken now. There's just nothing they can do about it. This now, everybody knows. It's clearly, this is now it. It's either us or them. Our plans involve them. Their plans don't involve us. And it's now got to a point where everyone's going to be standing up. What day, I don't know. When it's going to be, I don't know. Who's going to be frontline, who's going to be sitting back, I don't know. But it's going to happen.
What is interesting in what you say is that if that is true, which it does sound possible, and from what you said with regards to connecting the Middle Eastern community and so forth, in that case, wouldn't it seem then that what they're doing is a reaction, again, like a chess game? The activists have made their move, united with Gaza and so forth, and they're now making their move in the sense of trying to stop communication. And, of course, the reason why they're letting UKIP run wild is probably because UKIP inspires anti-Islamic sentiment.
But they have to make the propaganda to go with the effort they're making. Like, they have to create things like ISIS.
Well, that's the point, yeah. That's why they funded them and allowed them to operate.
Yeah. ISIS is created because we joined with the Middle East. ISIS was created to stop the West from becoming one with the Middle East. It did not want that.
I would say they predicted this with Gaza happening. I would say
about 8 years ago, probably.
That fuck up was going to happen for them. I think they almost, it's almost like they saw, okay, bollocks, we didn't market it enough. We didn't market the hatred for Muslims enough. That will happen. What can we do? Let's fund that extremist organization there because they're going to create enough hatred in the press.
Yeah.
This guy, Nigel Farage, clearly has some sort of charisma. His ideas are mental and racist, but let's support him because he's going to create a divide between the poor. Let's go for that. And plus, he's rich, so he knows exactly what we want.
It now depends whether World War III is created through this or the collapse hits first, one or the other. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Because the worst thing that
standing up to the US.
The worst thing that could happen to them is us to overthrow our government and not one riot happen.
I think that's the
worst
problem
thing
that they've had is that, I mean, we had like the hippie revolution in the 70s, but I think that, and then we had like angry environmentalists and things, and we've had like war protests and things, but now there's a lot more spirituality in activism and actually a lot more long-term goal. It's not just a one particular issue anymore. It's not like we're just against fracking. It's like, you know what, we're fed up with all this bullshit and we actually just want a peaceful life and you know, for you all to fuck off, really. You know, that we'd be quite happy. Whereas before, I think we were very singular on our issues, and now it's like you've got the Venus Project and things like that, where people are actually giving serious thought, universal basic income, all those sort of things to a different way, something new, try something new that we haven't tried before.
And I think the fear, the spirituality side has knocked the fear, because I don't know about anyone else, but when I first started, I did have a little bit of paranoia. I was like, oh God, I'm going to get helicopters with strings coming down and blokes smashing away through my bedroom window. Do you know what I mean? Occasionally, when I have a good, you know, when I have a late night, I do get on the phone to give it now. Look, is that noise outside? What is that? It's like, but generally, I don't give a shit anymore, because we're gonna, if we don't do this now, we're all going to really regret it. We're all really going to regret it. If you think it's scary, them knocking on your door now and coming and taking you away and kidnapping you and doing whatever else they want to do to you, it's going to be far scarier for your children.
And they have to be, you know, to a certain extent, it's their responsibility, because when we were kids, right, we were taught about you did things wrong and there was justice, and you know, you were kind to people, you didn't bully people, you looked after one another and things like that. And I think fundamentally most people, that is within them, that they don't want blood and they don't want fighting, they just want a peaceful life.
It'll kill them. It'll kill them if we don't riot. It will be shit if we don't riot. They will hate it.
I think it'll be the whole Gandhi scenario, you know, where you march peacefully, they beat you, they ridicule you, and then you kind of fight. What I'd say though is, in regards to what you said earlier, I don't say it so much about spirituality. I think it's because it's only now, and frankly, it's only due to the anonymous mask and the anonymous marketing image that the activists have actually started to fight on the terms and the system, because the marketing power is immense. Before, hippies and so forth were always ridiculed as these flower-loving nutters that had their head in the clouds. And anonymous are seen as these hardcore, almost heroic, action-manly type superheroes as such. You know, that's how they're portrayed in the press. That's how they see themselves. That's how the videos are portrayed.
Well, at the end of the day,
in the media.
We took the choice to remove our masks in April, and before that, we were anonymous online. We were anonymous at marches, and both of us pretty much together, didn't we, P? We were like, fuck it. If you were gonna, they know who you are, and it takes faces sometimes to fight this, and you know, but we were quite behind the scenes and kept the masks on and things like that. And it is, you go to these rallies and you take people for exactly what they are, a person, a human being. It don't matter what person they are.
Because when you first, like, people first come in that, you talk about infiltrators and things like that, so you don't know who you can talk to and things. And you know, I can understand why people stay hidden. But the reason, like, we agreed to do your documentary was because really,
We ain't scared no more.
You know, it's sticking two fingers up and saying, look, this is me, this is what I think, and you know, despite all of your thoughts of what your thoughts might be, ultimately I am a better person than you, I have better morals than you, and you can fuck off. I'm not going to hide. Because morally, I know I am better than a politician that runs this country. I have a kinder heart, I am more compassionate, and I actually think about mankind as a whole rather than just what I can get out of the situation.
And people can bond with us now. I've made, although I had a lot of friends before, I've noticed now I can bond more with people because they can actually look and they're like, oh, it is a real person. Because I think sometimes with Anonymous, it's like you said, they think they're superheroes, some form of... And do you know what? I got sick of the shit of doing stuff and then, like, people not know, you know, you'd go to these places and you're talking to someone and then you can't find them. You can't fucking find them nowhere. You know, there's a whole mess.
We were talking online and we'd been to a few protests, but we didn't...
The first time was when I tripped her
when
up.
we got our photos, and we were like, oh look, that's me in your photo. And she's like,
The first
oh,
thing I
what?
did to her when I met her was tripped her up. That was the first thing I did. I was like, oh hi. But yeah, we'd talk. No bonding, and this is what we were missing. I love the Anonymous mask. The Anonymous mask, I think, needs to stay because as a collective, that's what it is. I wear mine on the back of my head in solidarity, but now I show my face. But there are a lot of people that aren't going to show their face because they're still too scared. They're not. They're the fear.
We wear bandanas, isn't there?
Huh?
We do wear bandanas and things.
Yeah, we will hide it when we get there and that, but generally, it's got to a point now where we're just climbing up statues and shit, falling all over the place.
But you see, to me, it's not about hiding the mask. It's the mask as an image. It's almost like a Nike tick or the McDonald's M. You know, it's a brand.
It's become a brand.
Human beings need that brand. In this state we live in, we crave brands. We crave that marketing power.
The best part about this brand is we've created it. We've created it.
First
We're all
human
a part
brand.
of it. Yeah, it's not owned by no one. It is everybody's,
I mean,
and I love that.
About how it started and who started it, but to me, it's just I couldn't give a fuck who started it. It was an idea that spread, and the people have taken over it, and every person I've met has good intentions, you know, and I think it's the most democratic way of doing things, because if I put something out there and you like it, you'll join and support me. If nobody likes it, nobody will, you know, so it kind of votes in a way.
And once the fear's gone,
the more support you'll have.
Yeah, once the government's gone, the fear's gone. Once the fear's gone, that's when people can collectively make choices without the fear of being arrested or shipped off to a FEMA camp. Do you know what I mean?
Back in a minute.
A lot of they don't get this no leader either.
The what?
The no leader. You know,
No.
me being an artist, I can fully get no leader, you know, and I think we're all quite capable of self-leadership. And yes, in certain ops, you'll get people that will be the front runner, because like in life, if we didn't have a government, we would still need a administration to carry out a certain amount of work. So with Anonymous, though we don't have leaders, if there's like the Ferguson case, you'll get Op Ferguson, and a group of people will dedicate their time to Op Ferguson.
And there'll be one that will be the main sort of a couple, a few that will be the main runners.
It won't normally be one person. It's normally a collective of people because it takes a lot of time and effort, and there's a lot of different roles that need to be done. Without that kind of organisation, Anonymous wouldn't get anything done. If everybody was running around like headless chickens, just doing their own thing.
But I think that's why it's grown, because there were so many people trying to be a singular name, that now we've got to a point where they've realised, no, there can't be a singular name in this. There can't be. It has to be a collective. And I think that's what stage we've come to now. I think shit's just got organised. and the organisation is going down. We're getting our own websites. We're learning how to, you know, do things within certain circles and stuff now. And back then, you have to admit, half the time we don't know how many people are coming to a rally, things like that. But now we have so many people working on certain parts. We have a general idea of the minimum that's going to be there.
Yeah.
And that's a start. And the fact of, like you said, we've got plans that we can, somebody have turned around, you know, you used to get, well, what are you going to do? There was a vague idea, but now there's so many plans. Right, well, what do you want? You've got so many choices of what you want to do. And that's the best part.
And there's avenues as well, isn't there? There's so many. So you can go off down so many different rabbit holes along the way. You know, you might start looking at chemtrails and fluoride and then these dropped inbox. It's like a warren of information. You just seem to be fed new links and new information just at the right time that you're ready for it, through the connections that you're making. Because each person is offering different information to you, and hopefully you're
because
doing
all that happens. Yeah,
to share
all that
information.
happens, the system has failed you somehow. So you're shooting off and searching for how it's failed you. And now, because Anonymous, like it said, it has become a brand. It has now become to a point where people can search and it's not so far to find. Whereas before, it was harder to find. It was sort of more of a who's with Anonymous, what is this, what is that. Now the people who are running these things are willing to come out and say, yeah, come on, just come in. Whereas before, people were worried about what was going to happen to them if anyone knew that they were like a larger part of it or something like that. Now I do believe we've actually got to a point where our conscience has gone, I don't give a fuck, you're hurting too many of our humans and our planet, I really don't give a fuck anymore. Because we, at the end of the day, truth be known, you know, if we don't do something now, we're going to lose that chance to give a fuck.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
Hang on a sec. Just putting the light on.
But constructively, I think we're a lot more organised than we were a few years back. And I do think that is down to a few main groups, especially because the UK has been really slow. But a few main groups have got together, and not only are they grouped up into their, like you said, Op Ferguson, that kind of thing, like you've got Op Save London, Op Manchester, you know, that kind of thing. Now we're chatting with them. And we're all, you know, this boycott thing started, it's gone exactly like the fracking. Every movement that starts now is city bred. Now, that's the only reason I injected myself so fully into my community. Now, I could not do that without putting my whole name, my address, everything forward. And this is what risks people are going to have to take to get that. And you have to do that. You have to rise your community no matter what. And each community, once each city and community is risen, then you can come together as a collective.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree with you. It's like you need
if they don't
those,
kill you first.
Yeah, it's like they need those professional revolutionaries, as they used to be called in Marxist Russia, or community leaders, if you call them in the UK. Whatever it is, it's the same name for the same role. You know, a person that can unite that community, inject themselves, and become not the spokesperson for the community, but people becoming almost like the ones that get everybody together. And I couldn't agree with you more. We have become more united than we've ever have before. The only issue is that we've become united, but we're still, I think, the biggest hurdle, the next step almost, was we created a global brand, as you know. We've started to wake up, we started to connect with each other. The next step is fighting on the system's own terms. And this is something I've mentioned before, that is the problem of money.
I personally don't think we will be fighting on their terms. Personally, we've got such a diverse amount. When you look at it, say if you just split Anonymous up, you have got like a piratey side, you've got a spiritual conscious side, you've got a Freeman side, you've got so many different diverse sides of of the movements, that each one, the only side that's probably going to sit back and go, whoa, hang on, we need to do this right, is probably going to be the Freeman and the Conscious. Now you've got the piratey type and the I don't know what to call them, the more advanced side. You've got them that when it's going to get to a point where there won't be any written sort of way of doing it. If we don't hang on to it tightly, we'll end up like Ukraine. And I think that they're quite aware of that. As a collective, Ukraine worked together, the protesters and the that group and Nazis, and then the Nazis took out the protesters. We know that. We've watched that. We've sat back. We've seen it. It's not going to happen here.
But it's not going to happen here because we have too much of a civil society here. The fight will happen peacefully on the streets.
They're already starting the Nazis in this country, though, with the Gaza protests and things like that. A lot of towns are being told not to have the Gaza protests because of the incitement of the...
What should happen with that is that the BNP and EDL, whenever they turn up, if they're inciting stuff, they should be jailed. Simple as that.
Yeah, but the bloke who turned up at mine, even the policeman turned round to me because it was quite an intense meeting. I got absolutely fried for it. Absolutely fried. One bloke, and that's all he caused. My demo went wrong, bam. And that has caused mass meetings. One of my friends ended up with the terror police on his front doorstep, being dragged into police stations. And this is all because of one bloke who supported IDF. But he was a UKIP. He was UKIP councillor. And now I'm gunning for him. I'll have him out of office. There's no way that should be allowed. No way.
But you see, I mean, what should happen is that, you know, the police don't need more laws. If they use the powers they already have and jail the people that were supposed to be jailed, the system wouldn't be so messed up. Like that UKIP person, he should have been, well, you're inciting a protest. He should have been reprimanded in any way, whatever they see fit in that sense. And that's the way things should go. But they're purposely avoiding that. They don't need more powers. They need to use the powers they have now to actually promote the law. It's as simple as that. They just need to use the power they have. They don't need more. It just becomes irrelevant afterwards. I do have to shoot off now.
Okay, that's fine.
But I shall see you guys not next week, but the week after.
Yes, enjoy Italy. I won't be in your suitcase.
Pardon?
I won't be in your suitcase. Have fun.
Please, well, they probably won't find any of us anymore afterwards. See ya.
No, see you later. Bye.
Bye.